sponsored by the Securities and Exchange Commission of Nigeria.
Hello, you're watching Eye on Nigeria's Capital Markets. This is Filmhouse. It's a cinema company recently established in Lagos and has huge aspirations to take advantage of the opportunities that the Nigerian market provide. The startup capital for this business was provided largely by the Bank of Industry in Nigeria. And today we find out more about how government programs are supporting the growth of small businesses and also the role of private equity and venture capital in providing the much needed funds to get ventures like this off the ground. For entrepreneurs, Nigeria is widely regarded as a land of opportunity. This $250 billion economy and its population of 170 million people remains fertile ground for a wide range of businesses that are driving the growth of sub-Saharan Africa's second largest economy. But poor infrastructure, access to finance, skills acquisition and development are among the common challenges of small and medium-sized companies.
Filmhouse, we're about brand, we're about new technology in cinemas, and it's just a wow effect, but also from a strong business perspective. So Filmhouse got a vision to be the #1 cinema in West Africa. And the cinemas in Nigeria actually turn over far more money than a lot of cinemas in the UK, comparative cinema, like for like. But we're looking to open like 25 cinemas in 6 years, and once we achieve that, we're looking at an average turnover of about 7.5 billion naira per annum.
After unsuccessfully seeking venture capital for what they thought was a great idea, the owners of Filmhouse were finally able to access capital from the Bank of Industry.
Cinemas is usually the biggest, the highest setup cost in any mall, in anywhere in the world, because of all the equipment. Now, we tried a lot of venture capital, private equity funds, but our experience in Nigeria is such that a lot of the VCs and PE firms, it's really difficult for startups. They prefer expansion, and that was pretty challenging for us. However, a few years ago, the president of Nigeria actually launched the intervention fund for the creative and entertainment industry, the $200 million intervention fund, and managed by Bank of Industry and Nexim Bank. So we did access this fund from both Nexim Bank and Bank of Industry, and that set us up real good. The terms are fantastic, very encouraging, very, very good for a small business like us.
The Special Intervention Fund is one of several programs created by government to improve the growth of small and medium-sized companies.
The whole issue of skills are very, very important. The Ministry of Labor and Productivity actually has some very interesting programs in improving the skills of SMEs, and so does the Ministry of Trade and Investment. For us in agriculture, we are investing a lot in skill acquisition for small and medium agri-businesses. So, we have agencies under my ministry that provides training directly for them. We have colleges of agriculture that are training people, whether you're into piggery, whether you are into aquaculture, whether you are into small ruminants production or dairy production, smaller businesses. We are providing quite a lot in terms of training. But after you train someone, the most important is what they do afterwards. And that's why cracking this financial barrier that they find, this constraint that they have, is very important. I'm particularly pleased that the Central Bank of Nigeria is also putting in place a new facility for small and medium scale micro enterprise facility that will be able to lend to many of these SMEs that we have in the country today.
Nigeria's agriculture minister has become a crusader in restoring the agriculture sector to what it was in its glory days as a major exporter of commodities like cocoa, groundnuts, and oil palm. Many small and medium-sized companies have thrived under the new policy thrust to transform this key sector.
At the start of this administration, there were a total of just 11 also seed companies that were out there, and they were struggling because they were supplying seed to government, and they would wait months and maybe a year or more if they ever get paid at all. Because this government put in place a new policy that those companies, those small, medium-sized seed companies, have to sell their seed directly to farmers, they thrived. In the last 1 year, we went now from just about 11 or so to today we have 71 of those small and medium-sized seed companies that have been there.
The Bank of Agric recently just concluded the approval of a 4.1 billion naira fund that is supposed to be given to about 60,000 farmers across the country to help them to support their drive and their work in the cassava space. This is because cassava is a product that we have all come to accept in this country as, shall I call it, a magic product, a magic crop. Everything about the cassava plant is useful, from the leaves to the stems to the tubers. So the government is still driving that, and the export potentials are enormous. Aside from the BOA approved fund, there's also a $40 million fund that the government, I had the minister recently say, that they are trying to access from China. This is to stimulate export of cassava chips. Last year, Nigeria exported about 2 million metric tons of cassava chips, and they're trying to grow that by about 50% this year. So that fund essentially is supposed to go to support cassava farmers to produce more and to process. To, of course, ensure that the value chain itself grows. It's not just primary production that grows. The government is also looking to establish some cassava chip processing centers across the country, the different geopolitical zones.
This year, 2013, the facility from the central bank, which is called NISO facility, will provide risk-sharing guarantees for the banks to lend to these small businesses. And in particular, the agro dealers. The agro dealers are small shops that sell you seed and fertilizer in rural areas. They sell Fanta and all of that. Now we've turned them into retailers of seeds, and retailers of fertilizers, and so on. They face a problem of access to finance. So under this facility, which is joined between Central Bank and the Ministry of Agriculture, they will provide, through banks, a total of 400 million naira for those seed companies to be able to do it. For the agro dealers themselves, the amount of money that we are targeting for them this year, it's roughly 65 billion naira to be provided to those small businesses so that they can sell seeds and fertilizers in rural areas.
Unity Investment and Capital provides specialized venture capital funding to companies across the agriculture value chain. It runs one of several specialized funds in Nigeria created by fund managers to tap into opportunities emerging from government programs.
Our fund, our Agric Fund, which is actually the first private sector agri-focused fund in the country, is called the Agrival, which is derived from agriculture value chain. So we look at essentially the value chain from primary production to markets. And the fund target is $20 million at this time. Of course, we haven't gotten to $20 million yet, but so far what we have been investing in different sectors and in different crops. We have invested in a concentrate producing plant in Boko in Benue State. Incidentally, that is the second one. There are just two in this country. One is owned by Transcorp, this second one is owned by us. And we're going to be producing orange concentrate, mango concentrate, and pineapple concentrate.
Another rising entrepreneur trying to make his mark but struggling to access capital is Emeka Imodi. He is at the early stage of setting up an e-commerce business.
The trading name for the business is called Bayam. Basically what we're doing is we're creating a platform for already existing brick and mortar businesses to get into the e-commerce arena. To start with, we used our own money and then we did what we call the friends and family round of investment. So basically people that we knew who were interested in technology, who were interested in investing, we talked to them about the business and we had a few people chip in. I think for any business, capital in our environment is an issue. So far it's not been a major issue for us, but it's always difficult to get people who are interested in investing in what I'll call our non-traditional sectors. So if it's not oil and gas, if it's not banking, if it's not housing, people are a bit reluctant to actually put in their money.
A lifeline created specifically for ICT ventures like Morpheus may come in the form of a $200 million venture capital fund promoted by Nigeria's Communications Technology Ministry.
The venture capital fund, we're in the process of recruiting, of engaging fund managers. It will be managed outside of government. We will put the initial seed capital of about $3.5 million, and we hope that the fund manager will raise about $50 million. Now, this may not sound like a lot of money, but when you look at what these young developers need, Sometimes it's $50,000, $100,000. We have a governing board and an investment committee that will look at all these different applications, so to speak, to the venture capital fund, and they will select the one. And sometimes you're not selecting so much the idea. Sometimes it's the idea and the fact that the investment committee thinks this can be very successful because it's relevant, it will do well. But sometimes it's the person that you're betting on. This is a great entrepreneur, good spirit, really hardworking, but he's got a useless idea. But you bet on the person, you allow him to fail. And then if he fails once, then you give him a better idea and he begins to work on that. So that's the way that it's going to work. We have very solid targets. We're saying that by 2015, we want to have created 25 new businesses, ICT businesses. And they may not be, large yet, but we say for at least by 2015, they must be on a path to seeing that these will be the large IT companies coming out of Nigeria. So that's the target that we have.
The establishment of an ICT venture capital fund is only part of the Communications Technology Ministry's program to support SMEs in the ICT space.
There's some aspects of ICT, for instance, software development, mobile app development, that really don't need a lot of capital. And this is an area where we can actually attract the small and medium scale businesses. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create new ICT, create software entrepreneurs based on the technologies that are available now. And we're doing that in a number of ways, where setting up these innovation hubs, which will be open in the first week, in April, basically. Importantly, as a means of supporting these young software developers with broadband, with technology tools, with mentoring, and quite importantly, with capital. It's 2 innovation centers to start off with, one in Lagos, in Yaba, and one in Tinapa. 2 different models. We're having the entrepreneurship-driven model, again, Lagos being the vibrancy, innovation center for Nigeria. We're also having these state collaborations, where we're collaborating with the Cross River State Government, where they've given the facilities, and we will work to ensure that entrepreneurs come out of that particular innovation hub. There are about 17 or so million SMEs employing a couple of people, so they're a tremendous. They're the engine of the private sector, so to speak. And I think that it's important that we actually really focus on these SMEs, move the S to the M's and the M's to the large scale.
Chuka Ajane is the CEO of HSI, a home development company focused on creating affordable housing solutions. He is trying to position his company within government's mass housing programs designed to address Nigeria's 18 million housing unit deficit. Starting without venture capital was not easy, but after running the business for 5 years, he is more confident that he can now attract the venture capital that was first tough to come by.
We have talked to private equity companies from Nigeria to New York to the UK, and it's not been a great success for us right from the beginning. When we started, Nigeria was going through a major flux, but Nigeria as a country has shown great stability. We see the forex, being stable, and we see a lot of interest on private equity coming in. I know the interest today is more in infrastructure and whatnot, but for economic development, to empower the people, housing is critical. For infrastructure development, housing is also critical. So we expect that the focus will be on housing, one way or the other. Where we are really positioned, I believe, as HSI, to solve a critical aspect of housing, which is the affordable housing. We're not talking about housing on upscale housing, but we're talking housing of 1 million naira, 2 million naira, 3 million naira type of scale. So we believe that HSI has a very important niche to play, and PE firms will find it very interesting down the line.
Coming up, we speak to a venture capitalist and commissioner of Nigeria's Securities and Exchange Commission to find out more about how Nigerian authorities can assist the proliferation of small businesses, as well as how the SEC and other authorities are providing the enabling environment for SMEs to access venture capital.